The most surprising thing about meeting me in real life is not my hair color or how tall I am, it's about the phone I carry in my pocket, which over the last year and a half has been the Google Pixel 9 Pro Fold, which is a foldable phone. Everyone still is wondering, do I like it? Is it a great phone to have? Well, I'm going to tell you my experience. I've been using Pixel phones for a few years now, and I have the full Pixel ecosystem. So I also have the Pixel Watch 3 here and the Pixel Buds Pro 2. And so this video is going to be all about what I think is Pixel the right way to go. Is the foldable the right way to go? So they've just recently launched some new ones last year, and every fall they release new devices. So here is my full experience on how it is going. Now, first off, I originally was using Samsung phones for many years, and I wanted to see what the true Android experience was like, and that was kind of the main factor in leading to wanting to use Pixel phones. I was also curious on how the pictures were. Were they better? I always saw some great photos from Pixel phones, so I wanted to test that out as well. And now they have all these different devices, so how do they work together? And is it as good of a true Android experience as it has said to be? Google did send all these devices to me for a review period, but there are no posting requirements, and they didn't request for a review of this video, and all thoughts and opinions are my own. Let's get started. So first off, here we have the Pixel 9 Pro XL. Overall, I love this phone. Now, before this, I also used the Pixel Fold, the original Pixel Fold, which I think of a phone is an awesome screen size. So here you can see how wide that is and short. I think we should have phones that are just like that, not super tall. It would be so cool to have a phone that was that size. But the cool part about this is it was super wide screen and it gave you that full experience. Now, Google then on the next version went to a more Samsung style like, where you have a little bit thinner home screen, and when you open it up, it's kind of more a square. And then as you rotate, it's kind of a square either way. So you don't get as much of a wide screen, but you get a more natural version. And so this was pretty good. I think I love the aspect of the first one the most, but this works great. It wasn't as slim as the Samsung phones. So I also like that, where the Samsung Fold was like super tiny, where this one had much more space on it, which was great. So do I love a foldable phone? Yes, I have had many Samsung foldable phones, now Pixel foldable phones, and they do some things that just no other phone can do. Now, because you do go with a foldable, it gives you not as good of a camera, which is a little bit of a trade-off, but I would say I love having a foldable phone, and I probably will continue to use foldable phones for the near future, and hopefully the cameras can improve. So first, let's talk about the foldable features. What are some of the great things I love? Well, here on a phone, you have your front-facing camera, and then you have your rear cameras. Well, the rear cameras are better cameras, and the great thing about a foldable is you can still see your screen and use the best cameras you have on your phone. So let me show you how I do that. All I have to do is go into the camera here, and then I go into this option, which then gives you the option to do a rear camera selfie. So now it says unfold the phone, and right there, I now have my screen and my camera. So this camera is the best camera on the phone, and that is what you're seeing on this screen there. So I love that. I can then use this. I can put it on a tripod, hold it up, use the full video quality and everything right on there. It's great. I think that is such a cool feature to have on a foldable phone. Now, one of the other hacks with this is this then allows you to use the entire phone on the front screen. So let's say I wanted to do a live stream or use a video app and still use this camera. So here, if I'm in the camera, I can then swipe up and go home, and now I have access to any other app on my phone. So if I wanted to go into a different app, let's say I wanted to go record a TikTok video, I can open this up, and then I can begin recording with this camera right here. So that is something that foldables can do that no other phone can do. You can't open your phone up and use the best cameras and the screen at the same time. So that's cool. Another great feature you can do with that, let's go back to the front screen here, is when I turn this on, I have that rear camera selfie, but then I have the dual screen preview. So if I turn that on, so I can see the screen and then you can see the screen here. So if I'm setting this up where I'm taking a picture and somebody wants to see what that's going to look like, they can also see what the picture is going to be, making sure everything's in the right place. So that's pretty helpful. Now, the other option there is you could also use this for kids on a feature called Made You Look. So with Made You Look, I get a few different options right here where I can choose these little emoji icons. I can even turn up the volume here. And is what that looks like for you is a fun little animated character. So if I can say cheese or whatever. It gets your attention. You're interested in looking at the camera, and then I can take a picture of you. So the toddlers are going to look at my phone so that I have a great picture of them instead of them looking somewhere else. So that's just a little extra feature that you get with a foldable phone. Really fun to have those camera features. And then a few other random things is you can use this as a tripod. So I can just simply bend this in half, and it gives me the option to now set this up as a tripod. I can use a timer for the camera. You can also set up, I don't do it this way too much, just in case, you want to be careful where you put this down. But there you have a built-in tripod, and I can go into the camera app, and you can see on this screen there I have the camera on the top, and I have my buttons down here. So I have that set up all nice, and I can take and record a video there. Now, some other apps integrate with the Fold. So if I go into YouTube here, so there I'm watching a video. As I tilt the phone in half, now I have my full video at the top, and I have my controls down here at the bottom. So it's kind of like a built-in kickstand. You don't get the full screen there, but it is nice to have those extra little things built into the phone. So most of the time, am I using the internal screen? I'm using it mostly at the gym. So I go to the gym, I do my workout, then I go on a treadmill for a little while, and I'm opening up my phone, watching full YouTube videos on the bigger screen. So that's most of the time when I'm opening the phone. When browsing on a mobile phone and you're going to different websites on the phone, this small screen works, but many times things aren't formatted properly. Like if I'm using some local website, they don't quite have it formatted perfectly for a mobile device. So I can open up the full screen, and then I can see much more information all on one screen without having to kind of pinch around. You see way more. So looking here at this website, I'm doing some browsing. I need to scroll down if I want to see more information. But if I simply open the foldable phone, there you can see I have the picture right here, and I have the purchase price and other things here. So I'm seeing a lot more. And then any website that's not formatting correctly, you can always tap the menu, and you can go down here to desktop site. So you get more information. Sometimes it will change and give you more, but they're not too much change. But that's great that I can see a lot more on one screen. So I find this very handy to have if I'm browsing the web. I don't need to pull out my computer as much as I usually would because I have so much info here. I can do better Google Docs spreadsheets. I can see a lot of info. So here I want to change this to split screen, and then I want to drag up another app. I can just tap there, and now I have the two apps that I can use. I can double tap the middle to change what they are. So then on any app that you have together, you can swipe up, you can tap the settings here, and you can save that pair. So then it pairs them together right here, so that then I can quickly go into both those apps at once. So you can quickly go and be more effective. So you're using a calculator over here, or you're doing some calculations of a website, or you need to see how much money you have left. You can have that over here on this screen. So I love having the dual app experience instead of having to jump back and forth between one app. So that's enough about the foldable experience on the Pixel Fold. I think it is an awesome experience to have instead of just a single phone. It is better. Now, when you go from like a Galaxy S26 Ultra to the Pixel Fold, it's smaller. The front screen is smaller. You're like, wow, why is this so small? But over time, you get used to it, and then you love the experience of going to a bigger screen. So I love having a foldable phone. Now let's talk about the cameras. So as I mentioned before, I've always thought the Pixel cameras look great. And once I started using Pixel phones, my wife was always like, wow, why are your pictures so good? Well, most of it was the camera. I will say that it half depends on who is taking the picture. So if you have half of a person that knows how to take a picture and half of a camera that knows how to take a picture, you're gonna have a great picture. Where maybe if you don't have as much picture taking abilities and you're leaving it all up to the phone to take the good picture, it's not gonna look as good. But I believe that pretty much any camera can take a good picture if you do a few things to make sure that you have set up your frame right and everything to take that good picture. One thing is make sure you clear the lenses. If you don't clean these up, you're gonna see smudges, and when you take a picture, you're gonna see these blooming on the picture, and it's not gonna look great. So clean it up, frame people right, get a good angle, don't zoom in too much, you gotta be the right angle. So there's a lot to that. I think I'll do a full video on how to take a good picture. And I'm not a great picture taker or anything like that. I think just some standard picture taking tips help the camera go a long way. But with the Pixel 9 Pro, how has the camera been? I have no complaints other than the zoom. Compared to a Samsung phone, this could zoom a little bit more. It would be nice if I could get in more on video, and then just a little sharper on some of the pictures. Now I notice when you go to 5x, so here if I'm trying to take a picture and I'm going from 0 or 1 to 5, it does get a little bit grainy until you get to 5. 5 is when it switches over to the telephoto lens, and then it's gonna look a lot more crisp. That's also true on video. So the 5 looks better than the 4.8. A few improvements there, but I think this is great. There's been no complaints. There's also been no like, wow, that's the best picture I've ever taken. It's an overall good camera, nothing extraordinary great, but it hasn't taken bad photos. So let's take a look at some of those photos. So here, if you have good lighting, you're outside, it's going to look great. Zooming in, you can see pretty good quality there. And yeah, pretty happy with all of these different pictures that we were out and about taking outside. So overall, very happy with the camera. Just some of the zooming could be improved. Now, what about the overall Pixel experience? Just recently, we received a Pixel drop. So every 3 months, Pixel phones receive a new software update that updates the software to the latest security standards, but also adds a few extra features. And with these Pixel drops, that means now every Pixel phone forever will have those features. And I've loved having those Pixel drops. You know, sometimes you'll get an update and you're like, wow, this makes my phone slower, and there's nothing really changing here. But I would say the Pixel drops have been really nice to add enhancements to the phone. And I have noticed even a better performance on my phone. So they are working actively on things that have been having problems and improving them. Another reason I went to Pixel is they get the latest Android device updates the fastest. So if a new version of Android comes out, they're going to be the first ones to get it. Now, at first, it was taking me still like a couple weeks to get them, which isn't fun when you buy the phone to get the updates the fastest. But with this latest update, the day it was available, I saw the tweet that it was online. I went and hit update and it was there, and I was able to get it on my phone. So that's really cool that I had very quick access to that update, where on a Samsung phone, they're going to get the update, just Samsung then has to make it modified for their One UI that they use, and it's gonna take some time. They'll get the update, but it's just not as quick as having it here on a Pixel phone. So that's been great. And then the Pixel drops always add little enhancements and things like that. One of the things they added was the ability to customize your icons on your phone. Now, I know Samsung phones have had that for a long time, different theme packs, but here you can go in and add theme packs, and the theme packs right now are SpongeBob. So that's kind of fun. They did some wicked ones, which were cool. So you can go no theme, and then you can also go down here and adjust the colors of your phone, the contrast, the icons. So here you can choose if you want to have these different types of icons. You can even create custom icons, and now they have these like AI icons. So that's cool. There's not quite like an icon store in here. You can adjust the look of the icons, and as you can see, nothing's changing. So next we're gonna talk about that. But yeah, they have some customizations. I would say Samsung still is like more custom, being able to be customized by default, but a lot of those customizations have come to the Pixel phones, and you can adjust how many icons are on the home screen and how they look. And so there's a lot of customization you can do. So here we can adjust how many things are on there, but I'd say Samsung may have a little bit more. But overall, I've loved the Android experience. Now, one of my concerns about going to Pixel phones is hearing about different bugs that Pixel phones had. And I have seen some of those over time. Sometimes they clear up, sometimes they reappear. Now, one of the, I don't know if this was a bug or just my phone started to act really sluggish, but one of the problems I've had with the phone, so let's say I wanted to add something here to this Dropbox folder. So I'm going to upload a file. And whenever it would show this page, so that was pretty quick, but sometimes it was taking upward of 30 seconds to show the selector to choose an item to add to different pages that I needed to upload something. So I think that may have been something with over storage, like being too full on my storage, but that has been fixed recently and seems to be working fine. Some of the other bugs I have are like in YouTube. So here, when I play this YouTube video, there you can see that I have my controls on screen. Let's show this a little bit bigger here. And if I go full screen, no matter what I do right now, YouTube buttons, the play buttons are not going away. Now, I had this when I first got the Pixel Fold, and it went away for a long time and now it's back. I've recently cleared the storage in YouTube and that is still not fixing it. So that's one of those weird Pixel bugs that just show up and it's like, why is it doing this? Kind of annoying, not the end of the world, but it would be nice if that could go away. But yeah, that's one of those Pixel bugs that I don't love having. I'm trying to think if there were any other Pixel like bugs on the phone. I've had some other weird things. Oh, and as we just saw on the home screen, certain things not changing when I'm clicking on a button for them to change. That's pretty annoying. But I would say 90 to 95% of the time, everything is working great. It's just that last little bit that it's like, why do these keep reappearing? Why do they keep happening? But I don't know if there's any phone you can have these days where you're not going to have that. You know, for years, people had said, oh, Apple's gonna be the way. They're not gonna have any of those problems. But lately, I've been hearing more and more that Apple is having all kinds of bug issues like that. So is there a perfect phone to go to yet? No, but it would be nice if the phone worked the way it should. So there's not too much I can do to solve that YouTube button. Let's go ahead and restart my phone just to see if that does it. All right, phone restarted, booting it back up. Let's go full screen. And this is not going away. Even if we wait a little bit of time, why is it not going away? So as you can see, pretty frustrating to have a little bug like that continue to work. And I don't know if that's a full YouTube problem, but I've definitely had it a few times here on the Pixel Fold 9 Pro. So overall, love the foldable, love the software for the most part. The other thing is storage. So this has 256 gig of storage and I run out all the time. I'm recording all kinds of videos, I'm using 4K, taking tons of pictures. But one of the things I love is how it's integrated with Google Photos. So you can go into Google Photos and you can say, remove all of my storage. So here, if I'm out of storage, I can go into the Google Photos, hit menu and free up space on this device. Now what's cool is anything that's already backed up, it's not going to remove. So I know that and pretty confident that's backed up. I will say I'm also backing up to Dropbox at the same time and a NAS here. So I back up in multiple places. You never want to lose stuff. But with this, I've been very confident knowing that if it's backed up, I can come in here, hit this free up space, and it's now going to delete those files off my phone. I've instantly freed up space. I don't have to worry about losing any data, and that is now gone. So that's been really cool. So having only 256 gig of storage has been fine for me. I'm also downloading a ton of apps and everything most people should be fine, but there was, I think, the 512 gigabyte option if you want more storage. And just like that, it has now freed up 3.8 gigabytes. I just recently did that about last week and I freed up 50 gigabytes of data. Now, one confusing part is with Photos, you have your Photos app, which is Google Photos app, and you still have a gallery where you have only the photos that are on your phone, where Google Photos shows my entire library of all the years of me taking photos. You know, you can go through there and see everything. These are just files that are on my phone and not anything that has been backed up. So that is a little confusing, but it's nice that you can see what's on the phone or you can see all that has been backed up online. Because once I do that delete, anything that was in here is now gone and it's only available in the Google Photos app. Now that was one of my problems with Samsung phones is there's always two options for apps. You could use the Samsung app like the contacts or the calendar, or you could go and use the Google app. So you would have multiple instances of apps where I just want the Google app every time. So that's one reason you go with Pixel. Has the Google Contacts app. All your contacts instantly back up to Google account. You have your Google Calendar, which instantly syncs to your Google Calendar on the web, and you can share that. You have all the photos and everything just simplified to one app, all on the phone, and then you have other app that's available on Android, and that works great. So I've loved that about the Pixel. And then overall, the performance, I think it's very smooth. You know, if I'm going to recent apps here, scrolling through, there you can see very smooth. You do have the option to close all apps like Samsung phones have. It's just there at the very end, but very seamless. We can go in here, we can split screen. You can still do two apps at once on the front screen, double tap to switch places. Very smooth. That all works really great. Now let's move to what I've had the most problems with on my Pixel 9 Pro Fold. The name, a little bit long, but then the battery life. So first off, how do I charge my phone? I've used a wireless charger for years. I've actually used the original Pixel stand here, and what's great about this, you just simply set your phone down and it charges your phone. You wake up and you're ready to go. Well, the charging coils on the Pixel 9 Pro are in the wrong place. So using this stand doesn't work because they were too low. So I found online some people had printed a 3D print, and so I kind of modified it to make it so that it fits there. I even added this little thing on the back where I can add my Pixel Buds, which is kind of cool, so I know where they're at. But then I didn't make it quite right, and so it would still kind of fall off and not charge up all the time. So many times I woke up and it wasn't charged. So I even put this magnet on, but even with that, it wasn't aligning properly on my magnetic charger, but I think they have fixed the location on the Pixel 10 Pro Fold. So that's kind of the negative, but really what is the big problem? Well, that is battery life. I cannot make it to the end of the day with a full charge. I'm charging up, right after dinner time. It's like, oh, I need to be able to get through the end of the day and have battery life. I am going to plug it in. So here, looking at my battery stats from the other day, I did start that day with a full charge. Many days I'm not, just because I'm not getting it charged with the wireless charging. But there you can see I had a total of 3 hours and 56 minutes of on-screen time, which I'd say is pretty good. Like, I'm okay with that. Would be nice if it was a little bit more, getting up in that 5-hour range. But here you can see that started pretty early day, 6:30, and then till now, which at that time was 7:20. You can't really see that, but that was 7:20 in the evening, where I was about at 4%. So that is the biggest challenge of this phone, is being able to last an entire day. Of course, this was an early start. If I started at 9, I'm still losing my battery about 9, 10 o'clock in the evening, which would be nice to get me to about 11 o'clock without having to worry about charging my phone. So overall, love the phone, but if I were to have any big issues, that would be the battery life with this. And that is the hard part about using a phone that is this thin. You can see how thin that is, and that's even with a case on. We can pull this off and you can see that is a very thin phone right there without the case on. So I've also liked this case. It's protected the phone. There's a bunch of dings on it, but there's many times the phone has been thrown out of my hand, knocked out, fallen on the ground, and I've had no issues. And for the last maybe things that they can improve on is the actual screen here. So the foldable screens, they do have a little bit of a crease, but some of the newer ones, you're not able to see that crease at all. So here I'll show with my light. If you're like on the gym at the treadmill, when I'm looking at it, there is a light, so I see that crease a little bit. Not really a huge issue. Would be nice if that was flatter. And you can see here when there is no light, you don't even notice the crease, but as soon as you have a bright light around, then that crease kind of shows up. So making that a little bit more smooth. And on the Pixel phones compared to Samsung, I would say this has much more of like a plasticky movement feel. It's not a full glass screen, but as I move my fingers over it, you can see it kind of waving and adjusting. So that could always be improved on foldable phones, but that's just kind of how the tech works. It is not glass. It is a plastic screen that is able to be bent and fit inside, which is really cool. So that's the Pixel 9 Pro Fold. Let's go ahead and move on to the Pixel Watch 3. So I have loved the Pixel Watch. Great things about this. This is the LTE version, so I love how it seamlessly syncs with my phone to my watch. So for the most part, I'm using it for like music. So if I go into music and I play something, so I start the music on my phone, and when I go over here to my watch, instantly you can see it has shown what is playing right now. So then I can simply change the volume just by adjusting the crown here on the side. I can skip the song, I can see how far we are. I can go into the playlist that it's currently playing, choose a different song. So you have this seamless integration between the watch and the phone, which is great. Then you can swipe back and go to the main app here, and there your music is still at the bottom. So that's been flawless. Love how that works there. Tons of home screen options here. I like on this one how it gives me all kinds of data. And then down here, I even have the seconds that I can see. So I love having access to that. And each of these can be adjusted. So if we hold down on this, I can edit. I can adjust the different color here. Very simple. I can tap on one of these. Oh, you have to swipe over, and then all of these can be adjusted. So I like to see the sunset and sunrise. So if we wanted to change that, I can go in here and I see the complications, and there are a ton of options. So depending on what apps you have, you can do different things. You have different calendar appointments coming up, and you have multiple types of appointment options there. You can see days of the week and so on. So as you scroll through, there's a ton of options, and all of them are also, if we swipe back again, then that will save it. And if you click on them, it will take you to that app. So there we can jump right in. We can jump in and see the calendar there. If I want to tap on the weather, it will take me to the weather app. So I can see all of that. I love how they have this unified look from the watch to the phone. The UI looks very seamless together and it all works well. You can use this to make payments. You can do Google Gemini on here and you have all of the different apps and everything. Works really great. Another great app that I love is the camera. So if we push the button here, jump into the camera, is what that does is it instantly unlocks my phone. So here, let's show me on here. So instantly it unlocks the phone. There I can see me. I can use the crown to zoom in more. So you could set this up on the tripod. I can switch between video and picture. I can simply take the photo. So if we're in a group, take the photo like that, and then shows me, oh, was that a good photo? I could take it again. I can come up here to the top, adjust the modes, the camera, and even set a timer. So let's say I want to set a 3-second timer there. So now I take the photo, it gives me 3 seconds to prepare, and then it takes the photo. So that's been a great experience from the Google camera here on the Pixel phone. I think that works the same on Samsung phones, but really liked how that works. And then mostly that's pretty much all I'm doing. I also have it synced with Fitbit. So all of my steps are being tracked through Fitbit. After my workout, it then says, hey, we tracked that you were walking for 45 minutes. Would you like to adjust that at all? And it automatically tracks the workouts. Where on Samsung phones, it like gives a pop-up at 10 minutes and then tracks it. Where I kind of like how this does it all in the background. At the end of the walk, it gives me all the stats, and all of that is linked in the Fitbit app. And then you can use that to sync to all the other fitness apps. So great there. There are a ton of things that you can do right on here with the different apps and fitness, but overall has been a great experience. Now this also is the LTE version. So I think I'm paying 20 bucks a month. Not sure if that's worth it for how much I use it, but if I leave my phone at home, I'm also going to still continue to get all my text messages here if I'm away from my Wi-Fi. There's only been one instance where I was away from my phone, somebody called me and it just calls my watch like normal and I can answer on that if I'm really far away from my phone. That was really nice to have. So for emergency situations, it's great to have that LTE. If you're never needing something like that and you're always by your phone or you always have Wi-Fi, then you don't necessarily need to have that LTE option. But I have liked having it if you're ever, if you're a runner and you want to go out without your phone, definitely pick up the LTE and you just will have that monthly cost. Overall, loved everything about the Pixel Watch 3. My only complaint is I scratched, and maybe it's the glass could be a little stronger, but right here on the front, there you can see that big gash. So I try to take it off if I'm ever working out in the yard. You know, I was digging a big hole and I think that's where I got that one, but try to take this off if I'm next to any brick or anything like that. Overall, the rest of the screen, it looks great. I love the design. I love how smooth and sleek it looks versus the new Samsung Watch, which I don't love the look of that. So overall, that's it. Charging, battery life, I'm pretty sure I end the day with 50% battery life. So I could easily go 2 days without charging it. I don't use it for sleep tracking. You could do that, but I've been perfectly happy with the Pixel Watch experience. If you need more about that, maybe I can do a full video, but I've loved how it works, been plenty fast, and everything else there. The only thing that's really missing about that is Apple Watches have Apple HomeKey, where you can tap your watch to unlock smart locks and other things, where this doesn't have that. So that would be cool if down the road Android had something like that. Now, the last thing to talk about is the Pixel Buds Pro 2. So I've used the Pixel Buds Pro. I did lose those, don't know where they are. I think I also tried to Find My to find them and I couldn't find them, so they were just gone. But Google sent these out and I've loved these. I have no complaints about these. The overall sound from these is really great. Plenty of bass. They fit in your ear just fine. You can put them in and they have this what's called twist and lock, where you put it in and then you kind of twist it back and it locks it into place. And I'd say 99% of the time that has worked great. I think maybe once they have fallen out at the gym when I was working out, but overall they work great. And then it's super seamless, where as soon as I take them out, it pauses my music. You also have options now for it automatically to go into transparency mode. So say I'm at the gym, I have noise canceling on, so I'm listening to my music. or watching the video and I can't hear the gym around me. But if I then keep them in and I start talking to somebody, it automatically turns off the noise cancellation and it turns on the transparency mode so that I can hear who I'm talking to without taking out the buds. I also tried this out when I was walking home one day, and I could hear the kind of the sound of the road a little bit, but I could still hear my music. So it automatically went into transparency mode because it could hear there were things outside going on. And even like the crosswalk noise, you could hear that coming through. But then when I got home, it automatically turned on the noise canceling where I wasn't hearing anything else around me. So I love that. Let's go ahead and try out how the microphones sound on this. So how is it going to sound to somebody that is listening to you? So let's put these both in. So here, when I'm on the front facing camera, go to record a video, I have the option to choose more, and then I can choose where the audio is coming from. So instead of the phone, I'm going to switch to the Bluetooth, which is the Pixel Buds Pro 2. Now, if I record a video, the audio on this video is coming from these. So it is a quiet room in here, not too much noise, but this is how it would sound with the Pixel Buds. Let's go ahead and put on some music in the background. Okay, I've turned on some background noise. So it's just some gym recorded noise that I have in the background, but as I'm talking, you should be able to hear me. I can hear a little bit, it's so loud, but the audio should still be coming here from my Pixel Buds Pro 2. Now for me, hearing other callers seemed to work just fine, but the main complaint I had is if I was at the gym on the treadmill, somebody's running really loud next to me, others weren't able to hear me as well on the other end. So they were saying, hey, what are you using to be on this call? Oh, I'm on my headphones. Oh, those aren't sounding very good. So I have heard that complaint, but I have been able to hear other callers just fine and no issues there. The only problem I've really had with the Pixel Buds Pro 2 is when I had low battery in the charging case. So when this had no battery left, but the buds still had battery, when I'd go to put them in, they wouldn't turn on. So the case has 0, buds have plenty of battery, and they won't turn on. But if I would plug in the case for just a second to give it like 1% of battery, then the buds would automatically turn on and say, oh, you have 90% battery left on the buds, which is frustrating when I know I still have a day left and I'm not able to use them unless I plug them in. So I would have to keep a cord close. Not a huge issue, but just that last day, when you run out of battery or close to running out of battery, you have a little left and it's not working, a little frustrating, but still the battery life would probably last a full week of me at the gym every single day. So that has been great. And the last thing that they added to this, which is really cool, is a speaker down here at the bottom. So I said I lost my last buds. Well, with these, if we go into the Find My app and I scroll down here and find my buds, now it's currently saying they're nearby, but if if I've left the gym and I left them there, it will give me a notification of where they are. And here you can see them. It says it's near me right now, but I can play the sound. And that's coming out of here. So that makes it really nice to be able to easily find them. And then if I lost them in the couch, I could use that, or I just can't find them. And I looked, it says, oh, the last location was at the gym. So these have the Find My. That's really great to be able to find here in that app. So overall, love these, and I love the sound quality, battery life, and I also love how thin the case is, how small the case is, not bulky or anything like that. Another thing, I think Samsung could make a little slimmer case. So there you go. That's a lot of information about my experience with Pixel ecosystem over the last year and a half and beyond. I think it is a great way to go. I've been very happy with it. And like I said, they're always making those improvements. It's just those final little bugs, like they really need to get those tweaked. And, for years working with Samsung, they had a lot of bugs. Their bugs are a lot bigger, but overall the experience was great. Here, they just have these very small bugs that once those are solved, then the experience is going to be amazing. But overall, I'm very happy with this ecosystem. Definitely going to be using it again. I might try out a few other phones. The hardest thing about reviewing phones is I like to use them for a long time to see what the actual experience is. I've heard with Pixel phones, after 6 months, your phone is terrible and it's not going to work. I guess that's all Android. But no, I'm still using it. I haven't factory reset the phone. Everything works great. The only thing is the battery life has taken a toll. So maybe a factory reset is going to help that, but that's a lot of work and I don't want to do that. Now it takes a lot of work to switch between phones, so I don't like to do that as much as I used to, but I think I'm going to try out something just to see if going back to a big Galaxy S26 Ultra is a good thing to do, or if it's better to have the Pixel foldable experience. So if you have any further questions about using Pixel phones or what they can do, please let me know down in the comments below. And if you like this style of video where it's just kind of me talking about my experience, let me know that as well. Be sure to do more. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.